one of the harder things that you have to go through in life as a parent, as somebody that's in a caregiver mode, is realizing that you have to often say it's not your problem, and thinking through when you should actually care about something and not care about it. As you can imagine, I'm probably more on the I care about things a little bit too much and I think about other people, right? This whole reciprocity project is me thinking about other people and saying, hey, I can actually make a difference with this. But, often you can't make a difference in somebody else's life unless they actually welcome that and they take the step forward. I see, parents or, even myself, I've come to realize that if I make that initial approach and I go through something and actually try to help somebody else out, I'm actually not doing them a favor. First of all, they often don't appreciate any of those kind of efforts. And then secondly, they don't go through the struggle to realize that that is actually the opportunity for growth. And so a hard thing for us to all learn, and I think we're always learning this, it's kind of a lesson that you relearn over and over again, is to accept the fact that many things are not your problem. And looking at the world and saying, I can't solve that, I can't help you. You actually have to help it yourself. And you have to pick it up and start and assembling the pieces together. I think this is a transition point for many of us that are going through adulthood, is when you realize that it's your parents are not the ones that are going to solve your problem. Your manager, I guess, is not going to be the one that solves your problem. The other people in your life are not the ones that solve your problem. It's actually you that have to stand up and solve the problem for yourself. Because ultimately, you have to actually take life by its horns. You could imagine, I know that's kind of a really silly thing to say, but you can imagine that there's unlimited number of paths that you take. There's infinite number of paths that we all take, and we all have that choice. And we don't know what the right choice is. The other people around you don't know what the right choice is, and ultimately you have to somewhat pick it up and choose yourself. But the problem is, you actually have to choose. You need to be the one that steps up and says, you know what, I'm going to choose this path because it's right for me. And whatever you choose, you often get different outcomes. But then at that point, you have to assemble the different resources to put those things together. So this is a completely different way to see the world. It's a very different way to see the world than sort of conventional decision making. And it's a lot more along the lines, there's a sort of logic, or Sarasvati talks about this in entrepreneurship literature, about effectuation, where you really don't know what the right choices are, but you assemble what you actually have to put this thing together to create something that didn't exist before. And it's a really different sort of logic. It's a different way to think about things. But ultimately, I think we're all kind of entrepreneurs. We're all sort of making things up and putting things together. And one way to sort of view the world is say, I can't do this thing. I can't get this thing done because, I'm limited. I don't have the right decision authority, all those kind of things. But another way to simply say, hey, I'm going to take the world as given. I'm going to see the world as what it is, and it's a mess. There's lots of things that are unfair, all of that kind of stuff. I get it. But you take the world as given, and then you unfold the world based on what it's actually given, and you work with it based on what you actually have. So, this is assuming, and this is sort of viewing the world as if it's problematic, and there's a lot of opportunities as well. But you just view it as thinking about the world as it is. And it's your job to come back and think about how to actually put this thing together. given that the world is cruel, it's not nice, all of those kind of things. And this is the way that, you might think about if you're going to therapy, or a psychologist who would get you to think about the world, is that there are a lot of bad parents. There are a lot of bad people in this world, like truly bad people that do not nice things because they were treated like that, or, they have intentions to be bad, like just all sorts of stuff. And sometimes you get wrapped up in those worlds. And, especially as kids that are born into these families, they really don't have a chance, right? They don't have an opportunity. But to get you to walk through that is you have to admit the world as it is and see the world as it was. But then you walk forward given what you actually have and where you were. And you step forward and you say, yeah, that was tough. That sucked. But I'm actually going to change my world. And I'm going to start thinking about me and how I can actually drive this world forward. It's completely different in how you view it. And it's sort of looking at why some people, right? There are systematic biases and all that kind of stuff that holds us back, but there are some people in this world that are given a bad hand, right? They just are. And I think probably you're that way too. Many of us are that way. We're all given a bad hand at the beginning, but many of us are given sort of opportunities too. But the people that are given a bad hand, some of those folks actually make it out. And they do spectacularly well. They live happy and healthy lives, and they work on that. And the difference between people that choose to give up and sort of view the world as they were given a bad hand and they can't do nothing about it, and actually viewing the world as if it's this playground that is amazing, that all sorts of things are happening, is you admit the world as it is, and you see the world as there's lots of crap, lots of disasters, but then you admit it as it is, and you walk forward and you say, well, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to learn something from that. And well, maybe I did learn something from that. I learned how not to behave, or I learned that not everybody is nice. I learned all these kind of things, so I'm going to take that forward and turn it into something that's spectacular. And the only person that can actually do that, and to get yourself out of poverty, to get yourself out of that sort of funky mindset, is you. Nobody else can do it. And, this is the difference. When you see people talking about, going and seeing a psychologist or a mental health professional, those folks do work. But the people that go see them have to actually choose to go see them. If you don't choose to go see them, you actually don't do anything. You're being dragged there. You don't want to be there. It's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen from that. You actually have to choose and say, hey, this is not working for me. I actually have to do something about this. And when you choose, that's when good things actually happen in your life and you change your life around.